Hello, hello. Welcome to the Phoenix Transformation webinar. I am Penny Wilson and I'm so excited to be with you today. Today we're going to talk about how focusing on the problem is the problem. Second, we'll talk about what it's like to be a human pinball machine with emotions getting triggered all the time. And third, we'll talk about imagining what it would be like to live in the flow of joy and to focus on what you do want to create instead of what you see the problem as. How to rewrite the stories that you believe. So when it comes to the experiences that you're having in life, we'll call them your old life, that you can actually transform them into the life that you desire, the life that you want to live, the life that will bring you joy. I am a certified hypnotherapist, and I have found principles and patterns that help you to get to the root cause of what it is that's truly inside of you. Just recently, in this past couple of years, I've been able to look at those childhood stories and rewrite them because of my experience with hypnotherapy. So if you're not familiar with hypnotherapy, we're going to talk about how it is a tool to help you to transform. And one of the things I want to encourage you today is to look at your own experiences and find out how it is that you can move from where you are now, where you're dissatisfied with where you are now, into a place where you truly can have joy and focusing on what you do want. When my 5 kids were young, I found that I was depressed and I stuffed my emotions a lot. And what happened over time was that by stuffing those emotions, I became emotionally numb. And then occasionally there were eruptions that went from anger to tears, and I was literally emotionally out of control. It was like all of those pressures had built up. I didn't know what to do with the emotions inside of me, and I was so frustrated with not being able to have the answers that I need in life. I had one image of a pit that I was in, and there was me, the little tiny me, down at the bottom of the pit, and I was looking up at what I hoped was light, and there was no way out. There was no ladder. There was no tools. I didn't have what I needed in my life to be able to move forward. I had all of these ideas in my head. That's where I was in the beginning. I was depressed. I would walk around into my house and I would literally look down at the floor all the time. And I didn't know I was looking down at the floor all the time, which is kind of weird now that I think about it. But I was so depressed. I was so focused. Now look at the metaphor to what that would mean. What does it mean to look down all the time? And what does that mean for you in your life? Consider that for me, that meant that I was looking down at my life and looking at all the problems and everything that was wrong. I was in an unhealthy marriage and I didn't know how to deal with that conflict. It was a matter of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I don't know if you've heard those from the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. And that's exactly how I lived my life. It was either fight or fawn, one or the other. I was either fighting, where I was totally backing down, submitting, cleaning up other people's messes. I really did seem like Momzilla. Wasn't able to be the full, capable mom that I wanted to be. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but you have this feeling of this potential that's inside of you. You have imaginations. I had imaginations of the person that I wanted to be. I wanted to be the person that would take pictures of their kids and laugh with them. Even before I had kids, I remember in high school, we made this memory book of what your life is going to look like in the future. And so there was this picture of this mom kneeling down in the bathroom with toilet paper strung all over and a couple of toddlers messing things up. And that was one of the pictures I put on my board. And I knew that life would be messy. I knew that it wouldn't be perfect, but she had a smile on her face. So I wanted to be the kind of mom that could take pictures of the kids and laugh with them and play with them. But I didn't know how to play with my kids, because I didn't have that experience as a child to play with my mom. My mom was a working mom, and she was gone most of the time. If you want to learn more about that part of my life, in the Hero's Journey podcast, I give my interview about the core beliefs that were created for me in my childhood. So while I was raising my kids, that's the vision of the kind of mom that I wanted to be. But having all of these heavy emotions inside of me literally stopped me. And it was like I was a human pinball. Imagine that my life is a bubble. And then this experience comes into my life, thoughts, emotions, heart, all of that stuff. Experience comes in and I get triggered by this thing and this thing and this thing. And it's like all of those emotions are bouncing around inside of me like a human pinball machine. And because of all these triggers, these emotional beliefs that I had about myself, beliefs about being insignificant, beliefs about not feeling important, not feeling like I mattered, all of those beliefs were inside of me, and that's what was triggering me, all of the layers of emotions and the past experiences. So that is really what today is about. It's about you being able to recognize those emotions inside of yourself and really, like Charlie in that movie, have this huge desire to get them out, that you want to be able to get clean. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to have emotions flow through me so that nothing got triggered. Here's the contrast. There was a book I read called The Untethered Soul, and Mickey Singer talks about what it's like to experience life without triggers. And he says, imagine driving down the road and you see a sign pass and it passes and it's not a big deal. And imagine each of these things as if they were an experience that you have in life. And I know I use the word experience way too much, so just forgive me. There's something that happens in your life and it passes and you notice it. It's there, but it doesn't trigger you. Each of these experiences brings up emotion. But as those emotions flow through you, they don't trigger you. They don't stop you. He says the opposite of keeping driving past this sign is you're still driving, and then let's say it was a sign that said something that bothered you. And you're still thinking about that as you're driving forward. So that thought is way back in the past, but it's still in your head. And it bugs you and it bugs you and it bugs you, and you're still driving. You can't be present in your own life right there in the moment where you're driving, where you actually are. So he said that's the experience of what it's like to hold on to the past. And in the book, I love it. It's so amazing. I feel like the ultimate goal in life would be to have all of the experiences, whether positive or negative, to pass by, to neither hold on to them, to cling on to them, or to resist them. We tend to resist the negative emotions that come. And I say negative, but I don't really mean negative, because uncomfortable emotions can be positive. They can help us learn more about who we are and what we're born to do. They can help us to recognize what we truly desire. The point of life then, and what I would call the mecca, or the goal of life, is to then experience pleasure or pain, I guess is the easiest way to call it. Pleasure or painful emotions, so that you can experience them as a complete, full human being without clinging on to what's desirable or without resisting what's painful. And I think for me, that would be like the ultimate enlightenment type of life to be able to live, is to live with that flow. What is your ultimate? What do you want to get to in life? What do you want to experience? What do you imagine would be the best life that you could ever have? If you are in a place where I was, being in that depressed place and looking down all the time, you might not have the capacity to be able to imagine fully and completely what it is you truly want. But that's the goal. That's the goal, for you to be able to own your mind, to be able to wake your mind up, to be alive, and to be able to imagine exactly in clear detail what it is you want to create. Because that is the power of creation. Truly, that has been the journey of my life, to go from being a victim to being a creator. And I use these sides of my my mind, because that's how it's organized. When you join me in the 5-day challenge coming up, I'll be able to share with you more about the pictures that I see in my mind and why I use my hands the way that I do. Anyway, that's truly going from a victim to creator, is you being able to experience and create what you really want with your life. There's things that happen in life to us. And I love the quote that Stephen Covey says. He says, life isn't what happens to us, but how we respond to it. And it really does come down to knowing that life is a choice. What happens in your life is a matter of you choosing what you focus on. Are you going to choose to focus on everything that's wrong? Or are you going to find a way to shift your focus into what you do want instead of what you don't want? And that's all about what I do. That's my passion, my burning desire, my obsessive focus is to help you transform from that mindset of focusing on what you don't want into focusing on what you do want. So just to conclude, that last part about the intro about me is going from a life of depression to a life of significance. And when I say significance, I just have to clarify that doesn't mean superiority. It just means me knowing who I am and why I'm born, and that I am here to live my purpose. That was the beginning of my journey, that I was depressed because I did not know who I was. I did not believe that I mattered. And significance is one of the 6 foundational needs, which we'll also talk about in the 5-day challenge. And understanding truly what you need will help you to clarify what you want along your journey. But for me, that was depression to significance and really wanting to know what my purpose was.